of Stealth Live, where creator economy insiders are going to round up the news from the week and say what's going on at Stealth Talent. I'm Phil Ranta, CEO of Stealth Talent.
I'm Brian Foster, VP, Head of Sales.
And I'm Kasha Turek, co-head of talent.
I love it. Well, we're knee deep in Q4 and the holidays. We've just got kind of 1 week left when actual deals happen before everyone goes on break. How's everybody feeling?
It was a
I'm
good
feeling
week.
it.
I've gotten a lot out, and then a lot came back. So a lot of emails out, a lot of communications out. We did a good job of sourcing some good contacts, and we've got some stuff cooking right now. So hopefully we're going to get some remaining budget here. I don't know how much we want to get into our nitty gritty of our financials, but we're doing good.
Heck yeah. Radical transparency is one of the core tenets of Stealth Talent.
Right.
So, how about you, Kasha? Are you surviving?
Surviving, feeling the hustle of the mid-December before holidays. Nothing but good things though. It's great to see how brands are reacting to some of my creators. So it's fun. I love it. I love the hustle. I love everybody being online at this time. But then we know that before the holidays it kind of dies out a little bit. So I'm just like, no, answer me now.
Yes. I feel a fair amount of that too.
This is kind of the end of it. I feel like maybe we can squeak something out next week, but I believe Wednesday, Thursday next week is the absolute cutoff for comms.
Yeah. Oh,
At least
yeah.
when
I'm
kids
already
are done
getting
with
out
their
of my
school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting out of office messages still quite regularly. So, and there he is, Connor. How are you doing, sir?
Hey guys, doing good. We're preparing for like a negative 20-degree day here in Chicago. So,
Ooh,
Bad
yes,
things
we're
down
all
there.
Los Angeles, Connor, Chicago. So apologies for that.
That's all right.
I love it. How's your Q4 treating you? We were just talking about all of us ripping our hair out. How are you feeling?
Things are good. I think in one of the things I've been telling clients is I think, as the economy kind of tumbles and we're figuring out where things are, I've always emphasized this. I think that really leaning into your community and just giving them an opportunity to come in and feel special and, charging $5 to $10 for the privilege is something that I feel like is a no-brainer in today's creator economy. I know that obviously it works different for different people, but people need that community more than ever in that third space, and I'm hoping we can really lean into that. So it's been going.
I absolutely agree. And Katarina, welcome. Katarina has joined the chat. How's your Q4 treating you?
Q4 has been really crazy. I feel like it's a never-ending busy cycle. So I feel like I can't breathe, but I think the last 3 weeks of Q4 typically wind down, and then it's all worth it in the end.
There you go. Well, the deal flow has been coming from your roster especially. So, well, you also have a lot of people that are, let's say, product-oriented, from TikTok shop folks to auto folks coming out of the SEMA convention, so it totally makes sense. But we have done, this week alone, in terms of contracts coming in, it's been above the $500,000 mark this week. So, huzzah, things are still happening in Q4. So, all exciting news, but also in the market, there's been crazy news. There's 3 stories I'd love to highlight for this week and get your takes on. One I would say is kind of digital media, but not really digital media, which is Disney did a deal with OpenAI. The details are a little scant, but you can kind of guess. I think it was $1 billion deal. I don't know if that's $1 billion annual, $1 billion license, or what it is, but we all assume that probably just means that you can generate stormtroopers with Sora or like Mickey Mouse clips. But how is everybody feeling about kind of these big IP licenses for these AI LLMs?
Who wants to go first?
How blunt can we be?
I first of all, we don't know what the details are. I think $1 billion feels, mentioned this last night, feels low for the amount of IP that they own, considering LucasArts alone cost $4 billion, I believe, when they bought it from George Lucas. So you're talking about $1 billion. That's got to be for the first year or something like that. And I think that's probably going to be renegotiated. But I think it's just what's going to start happening now. And I think it's time to brace yourselves as more companies are going to start making those deals, because there's money in the bubble, and go get the money.
Totally. I wonder if, and when it comes to what this deal does, here's my guess on the $1 billion, because I agree it's too low. I think that they're paying $1 billion to Disney to not sue them for the next year for any generations that happen with Disney IP that are non-commercial opportunities. I don't think that people can make a Star Wars movie and sell it through Sora. I think that this is just like if somebody does make a Stormtrooper movie, Disney doesn't go and sue OpenAI. That's my guess. It's like a lawsuit delayer license.
Wow.
I
That
think
sounds about right.
that's such an interesting thing to bring up, though, Phil, is Disney has been so protective of their IP, right? Like they used to. There was a story several years ago about how they wouldn't let a family put Spider-Man on their child's headstone, right? And then I think about this rise of AI, and I think it. I saw an interesting article where it was like people don't necessarily want all this, but I think a lot of these companies don't have a choice because it's feeding this circular model where NVIDIA is propping up a good chunk of the S&P 500. You're seeing RAM manufacturers cave and only provide it to AI companies. I think honestly, I don't think the economy has a choice. I think whether or not consumers want it. I don't think there's any turning back here, and I think my concern, honestly, is I don't know how big of a bubble it is or how long it's going to last, but it doesn't seem like the layperson is receptive to generative AI, nor wants to see it and wants to use it necessarily. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's I wouldn't say it's concerning, but I'm definitely I have pause.
I think you brought up a good point. It's specifically generative AI that people have the problem with, right? It's like tooling and things that can help you with your accounting and assistance. Like that stuff might be pretty helpful, and that's going to be the next wave of tech that people are using to just do their everyday things. But yeah, I think it's a little egregious. I guess that's the right word when I think about it, especially the amount of IP that Disney has. Like, who's next then? Like, who would that be? Who do we have our money on that's going to be the next one to make that deal?
Warner Brothers, Paramount, Netflix.
And that's the only way they could do it, right? Yeah. And then think about those IP. They have a ton of IP, right? That's the DC licensing catalog, right?
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I think that there's going to be an incredible amount of guardrails and limitations into what you can do with it. Because I agree, like, people aren't ready to watch full generative AI movies because they feel like generative AI and they're a little soulless still. And like, even I was at the AI and Creativity Summit, 3 weeks ago or something like that. And there was a lot of people who I think are going and genuinely trying to make the best movie they can with AI.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the audience who are already bought into AI, celebrating how awesome the AI film is. I was able to separate myself from the AI of it all and went, that's a fine film. Like, it's as a film, if it was made not with AI and I was just watching it, I'd be like, fine. It's like something you'd see in like a student film showcase at a college.
Movie. It's a start movie. It's a beginning, middle, and end. That's about it.
Exactly.
Most of the time. Soulless is how you put it, and I think that's correct.
Yeah, totally. What do you think, Kasha? Do you think that everybody on your roster is going to start making Stormtrooper AI videos now?
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I have like a chunk of dudes who just think that's funny. So.
Well, what about Zesty? Would he be into AI, generative AI?
No.
No.
Absolutely.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
He's the one who's like, no, stay away.
I don't even think Archer or Fryboy would be. They're more of the practical effects dancers. They're IRL.
That's true.
Folks,
that's true. They're very artistic in that way, very creative. So, yeah, it's a good question.
I know I've spoken to one of my clients, Young Astro. He said he's not very much into the generative stuff. He doesn't like that, mostly because of the loss of jobs or the taking of jobs. That's the thing he worries about. And he wants to be, an editor, creator in the traditional market, and that's going to suck up a lot of those jobs. So he's concerned, but he always uses it for the tooling. He uses it to help him write his scripts, to help him form his concept plans and things like that for the videos. So there is some use there, but I think.
I mean, you look at ChatGPT usage statistics. Everyone's using it. Like it's. I just think that people don't want to read it. They don't want to. They don't want it to be published. They don't want it to be their movies. They want it to help them organize their grocery list or be a friend to them when they can't talk to their husband or wife or whatever, right? Like, which that has its own set of problems, but Yeah,
Oh, that's
this
right.
just in. I don't know if anybody saw the news that just broke this morning, but Time Magazine named their Person of the Year as the builders of AI. All the CEOs of all of the AI companies. And the backlash has been swift and mighty. The
Sure.
internet did not like that choice. So,
No, that's a terrible
yeah.
choice.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could talk about the photo too, which was, it's steel workers that, initially had built an industry, and now, we're sitting here and we're like, okay, well, what? I'm not going to disagree and say these founders haven't built anything, but I do think, A, it's a little disingenuous, and B, I look at what, these founders are trying to create here, and I just wonder, like, what is the end game? I don't think that there's regulation here that we're discussing, and I don't think anyone in this current admin wants to have regulation. So I'm curious to see where this goes in the next 6 months to a year, and if anything will change.
Didn't the administration say that states can't argue against or create something against AI or create,
Yep.
reason
That's what
not
they're
to?
pushing for. And part of that is like the America first positioning of, well, if we don't have a completely unregulated AI that can build as quickly as possible, as big as possible, then another country is going to, and we're going to be screwed. But also, I don't believe that a dangerous and untethered AI is an inevitability. And I don't think that other countries are going to be excited. I see this as kind of like the building of the nuclear bomb, right? Where it's like, we've built something extremely dangerous. There's going to be bad actors. There's going to be good actors. And it is the job of good actors or places that pretend to be good actors to make sure that those guardrails are put in
Right.
place. And right now, those guardrails are very much not in place. And when I say that this could lead to the extermination of the human race, I don't mean that flippantly. I think
No,
that
yeah.
like agentic AI is a machine with infinite knowledge that will do anything it takes to accomplish the task it's given. And if that task is to kill everyone on Earth, and you give it to the wrong untethered AI with the right amount of power, it will. It'll never stop until it kills everyone on Earth. So there's our little joyous Friday leading into the holidays conversation.
Hope everyone's smiling out there.
But yeah, Disney, congratulations on your OpenAI deal. You've created the Death Star. No, it's fine. Another thing, which a little bit on a lighter note, John Uche, friend of the crew, awesome dude, worked at Meta, worked at Google, has kind of become a pundit and creator in the YouTube space, launched a company called Boring Stuff, focused on doing things like taxes for creators and accounting and all of the boring stuff creators don't want to do. I really love it. I think he's the right person to do it. And also, I think that it's the right company, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I would need to hear more about it. I don't know. I haven't heard about this, so.
Totally. I mean, it pretty much, the details are reasonably scant, except that he's just, since he's such a kind of creator's creator, like a creator who creators listen to, it sounds like he's making a play in the kind of like what Essential is doing for taxes, or,
Is it kind of an
Cookie
all-in-one?
Finance is doing for CPA services. Yeah, like he's trying to do that.
So it's a bit of an infrastructure that all the creators need. That they'll definitely not. I think that first of all, the best name for a company for what it does by far, Boring Stuff, and that's all does all the boring stuff. That makes perfect sense, and also something that we need. I feel like we need to maybe partner with that team for some of the stuff we.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, maybe you've got that contact.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we need everybody. Nobody likes to do finances. So.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
It sounds very similar to how Semaphore started, which was essentially CPA focused, CPA and fiduciary focused, I want to say, and then they broke out into a bunch of different brackets. I'm not entirely sure where Semaphore is now, but I know that they were doing a lot on when Jelly Smack had come up. Facebook, Semaphore was like, okay, I'll figure out how to combat that. So they had like a tiered level for Facebook, and then they also had a bunch of other stuff. They've also done brand deals in the past. So I think it's like, definitely it's a concept that I've heard that's been used before, but I think it's something that talent always needs, and talent's always going to look to someone that they trust and rely on time and time again before they, do their own research on things of that nature.
Totally, yeah. And I felt like Semaphore was ahead of the market on that in a very big way. But also, I'm a firm believer that having many companies doing a thing in the market is good for everybody because it challenges everyone to do better. And like we've always said when we started Stealth Talent, is we're very early in terms of the company creator equity thing. But I think that there could be 100 companies doing what Stealth Talent is doing because it's a big market and it will challenge all of us to do better. So I'm excited for Boring Company, and I'm excited to work with them and our creators in any way we can. So next thing, so there was another Pew study that came out, another study about teens and mental health, another one saying that essentially social media is drugs for kids and it's awful, awful, awful for you. One thing that I feel like was an interesting conversation that started springing up around LinkedIn is there's a lot of these studies that show that social media is bad for mental health, and not a lot of studies that says why, right? They kind of say social media is bad for mental health. People are getting depressed, yada, yada, yada. We should ban social media.
Catch-all.
And the nuance that's missed is like what parts of social media are doing it.
Right.
So even though it's a bit of a bummer conversation, I would love to hear thoughts on what is it about social media that's making people depressed? I'm on social media a lot. I'm only depressed sometimes when the bills come in, but other than that, I'm pretty good.
Because you probably look at the stuff that makes you feel good, and you have a regulation, or you're regulating yourself to get away from the stuff that's not going to make you feel good. I don't think everybody can do that, or maybe they don't know the information they're getting is bad information, misinformation, negative information, and they think it's just the news. And that's also a problem. And social media is all news, right? Or that's where people get their news now. So there's that crossover. But I also like social media. I watch it a ton. I watch it a ton for work and for enjoyment's sake. And I feel pretty good. I mean, I'm not the happiest guy all the time, but I think that's pretty normal to have my ebbs and flows. But I don't think social media has hurt me like that. But that's why I think drugs can also be handled properly, and alcohol can also be handled properly, just like social media can. So there needs to be coaching, there needs to be, mentorship when it comes to even that, because if it is so addicting, I get addicted to it. I feel that adrenaline rush or that dopamine rush. So I think it's just a matter of counseling, guidance, especially from parents, to not just put a phone in front of your kid's face too, to help them grow up and be that, but also for adults to maybe put the phone down a little bit once in a while. Yeah.
So the biggest,
I think, go ahead, Pasha.
The biggest thing is that, like, for example, like my sister's 12, and so she's on social media seeing what everybody's posting. And usually if you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or something, it's always something positive that people are sharing, that's like, look what I'm doing, or look what I did. And so then there's like the jealousy factor, and you envy these people of what they're doing. Or it's celebrities and they're showing their fashion and their body and their fitness or what they're eating. And it's like, from the perspective of like young teenagers and like them leading into adulthood, I feel like where I'm 28, where in high school, social media was not what it is today, or even middle school. And so it's like they are so involved in social media that it's so toxic in their brain that it's just like, this is all that they're focusing on. And so it can have that negative aspect to it of like, you want so many things and you're constantly like want. So I see why they say it's not the best. But
is
actually
13 too young? Is 13, 14 too young to start or 12? Sorry, I don't know what
yeah. So apparently now on Instagram, they know when they'll make you an automatic teen Instagram account, where before that wasn't a thing. So now it's like, well, obviously like kids would lie of their age and be able to make a social media account. But now I think, Instagram's allowing 13 and up to make an account. So I still think it's like, ooh, it's rocky.
I will say, if you
bit.
look at the feature set of Instagram for teens, I think it's going in the right direction. Like,
That's
I think it's better than just allowing a 13-year-old to start just any Instagram account. Like, there are more safety protections.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's kind of like saying, hey, this heroin's terrible for you and it'll kill you. Why not have cigarettes instead? Like it has a little bit of that flavor, you know?
Yeah.
There's actually a new thing. It just recently popped up on TikTok. I think it was pinpointing one specific influencer, and the influencer was kind of complaining of like why their views aren't doing very well. And this influencer is from when I was in middle school that I watched, and it's everybody fired back in the comments being like, well, we don't want to see your rich lifestyle. Like you're showcasing all these clothes and makeup, and it's as if you're not appreciating what you have. And so a lot of people will watch a day in my life and it's somebody who's normal, but then the second they blow up and they're rich, nobody cares anymore because it's like, well, I would love to live like that if I had all this money, but I can't. So it's like it just makes you feel bad. You have that negative feel from it. So then they pull away from it.
How can you relate to that?
Exactly. Yeah.
There is a creator named Family IT Guy, I think, and if you haven't watched any of his content, I strongly encourage it, especially if you're a parent. As someone who, since I was pregnant, has been so bullish on trying to figure out how to navigate internet safety with children and what the best way for me to do things is, what the best way for when he gets a phone is going to be. Like, I think honestly studies are always going to be one-sided because the people running the studies are trying to get a specific result, and they're going to run that until they get what they want and then put the evidence out. So you have to look at so many different case studies in order to kind of get your own opinion on what you think is safe for your kids. Unpopular, I think, but like I have 3 screens in my entire house. It's my computer screens and the TV behind me. I don't let my son watch TV basically ever. He's 2, but I think even as he's older, I probably won't instill that. Mostly because I just didn't grow up with a TV. I played sports, I was outside, I worked on cars. There was literally like not a moment where I had to be inside to sit with the internet. But I do remember being a teenager, and I remember spending so much time on MySpace and like talking to people that I did not know whether they were really my age or not. And I think of that all the time now as a parent. So it's something that I think, like, for me, I also didn't grow up in like a gamer household either, where my ex did. And so he has like a PC, he built his on his own and stuff. And even when I was pregnant, I was like, okay, so he will not play video games. Like he can build a PC with you, but he won't play video games. And so Jay even is on the side of like, yeah, no, super against video games. Everything with Roblox going on, it's an adult game that is sold to children. It's even marketed as it shouldn't be played unless you're the age of 13 or older. There's just too much access, I think, out there. So it's a very like weird time where it's like, how do you navigate phones? How do you navigate the internet? And I think like if you're a parent, you're watching everything that your kids do, and you have to make the decision on what's okay and what's not okay. What I think is like kind of crazy is we have all these like moms now that are coming online and being like, if you're posting your kids, you're bad. And it's like, okay, so teach them how to, you know, what would the proper steps be to get your child to step away from the internet after you've already exposed them to it. So it's just different things. I feel like there's always going to be a never-ending opinion on it, and all these like studies coming out. I think mental health wise, spending less time on your phone definitely does improve your mental quality, but at what point, if you work on the internet like we do, at what point? So one thing for me that's like helpful with ADHD is I delete the apps off of my phone once a month, and so I only use it on my computer. That like, it gets my screen time down, it makes me go to bed on a schedule. I end up usually re-downloading them again because I have ADHD, so consistency is not a thing for me. But I try it, and I always try different recommendations and try to follow through with them. So just my tidbit.
I wanted to add on to what Katerina said here, especially in wake of Australia banning social media for kids under 16. I think it brings to me this interesting point of like the panopticon of social media, right? Everyone's got a camera, everyone can live stream everything. Privacy is pretty much largely non-existent. I mean, even walking down my street, everyone's got a Ring camera. You are constantly in a space where there are eyes on you, and I think it ties into this notion. And I did see this on TikTok, but it's like I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha and generations younger than us are so scared to be perceived, especially being perceived as uncool or cringy. And the notion that I saw was, to be cringe is to be free, right? Like we spend, I think, so much time as people constantly trying to, and as Kasia was saying, like build up this impression of a unique and enviable life that I think people are so concerned about that self-image that it just feeds into this vicious cycle of it's you're confirming it for yourself and for others. So I think, as I think about what Australia did for social media and just hearing from younger relatives that are so not only like deeply concerned, but they don't have an attention span anymore. I think, while it seems drastic, I think we're just seeing the consequences of like the iPad kids, right? Like we're seeing what happens when you shove a tablet in your kid's hands and that's all they have. And the reality is like people who know that that's bad, like they're not, you're going to see them having their kids read, you're going to see them do what Katerina is doing, which is limiting screen time. I think screens and AI and constant technology is being pushed because it's a convenience, but people who know the actual downsides and understand the long-term ramifications are not going to let their children anywhere near that. So I think we're going to really start to see what those impacts are. I think in my opinion, it's better to be smart because like I remember being a kid and thinking like, oh, like I'm not worried about being outside and someone catching me in a bad moment, but I feel like so many kids are so constantly concerned, and everyone in general. I mean, there are times, I slipped walking down the sidewalk, 2 days ago, and I was like, man, I hope no one clips that and puts that on TikTok because it was a pretty spectacular fall. But like, man, I don't want to end up on someone's compilation. I'm just walking down the street to get milk and bread, right? But I think that's part of the larger conversation is we are in this panopticon of surveillance, and I think it's as adults, it's easy for us to separate that. We can't really help it. It's just going to happen sometimes. But the kids haven't had a chance to be kids. I don't think they've had a chance to be free of this notion of constantly being surveilled. So I think limiting social media in some regard, I think, is a step in the right direction. Because man, there's a lot of moments I had when I was 13 years old that I'm glad are not on the internet.
Absolutely. No, I would never judge any parent for their form of parenting because parenting is brutally hard. And Katerina, you're right. There's a million studies that say one thing and then a million studies that say the other thing. Your kid should eat eggs. Your kid shouldn't eat eggs. Your kid should drink milk. They shouldn't drink milk. And it's like, it's hard. And you have to just make the decision based on the best information you have. And it's hard to find good information. But so in our household, we do, because my wife is a TV writer and I'm a media addict from birth. And like my parents were the kind of parents that plopped me in front of a TV and Nintendo for 10 hours at a time. And that was a lot of my childhood. What my goal is I believe that a lot of the depression is being targeted towards people say it's because of like the beauty standards and the FOMO and all that. And I think that's a part of it, but I also think that exists in magazines and TV and books and billboards and all that stuff. And like, I think that the social media, how drastically it makes people depressed and how big of an impact it has is more than that. I think it's also kids are burning out their dopamine receptors and then everything's boring, right? If you have the phone that's optimized for like, oh, I'm getting a thrill every 30 seconds or every 10 seconds or every 3 seconds. And then you put your phone down, you're like, this sucks. Couches suck. Reading sucks. My friends suck. Sports sucks. Like everything's terrible because and I see it when my daughter plays Roblox. She loves Roblox. And of course we have to limit it or else she would go insane. When you close the computer, you kind of see a little bit of like this, like
Back to
like
reality.
I'm so yeah, totally. Reality is just like, what do I do with my hands? There was so much action happening here, and now it's over here.
Yeah.
But the way that we're trying to combat it is, yes, absolutely limiting as much as we can, but also I talk to my daughter about addiction a lot. And I'm like, hey, you notice how shaky you're feeling about Roblox? That's because it was giving you a lot of
Yep.
good feelings. And now you're in the real world, it feels bad. That doesn't feel great, does it? And yeah, she's 6 and she's probably not absorbing it all the way, but also it's like, in a weird way, I'm like doing exposure therapy on my children early
Yeah.
because I'm like, it's going to be part of it. And I want you to understand that, like, addiction's all around you and there's good feelings all around you, but remember, those good feelings are temporary and you don't want to be dumped into the real world feeling like everything's terrible.
You
It's
being
hard.
honest,
Parenting's hard.
you being honest and allowing your kid to trust and to be open with you as well in communication and stuff, and to be open about how they're feeling and things, like, is part of it. And I think you're setting that up properly, just be okay talking about it with us, at least, like our circle. And I think some people that don't have the guidance and like that, or they don't have that trust with their parents or their kids, however, back and forth, they're the ones that get locked into that dopamine. That's the only thing that makes them feel good. They don't have any good stuff in the real world, and that's sad.
Yeah. There's one Instagrammer, I wish I could say her name, but I don't remember it, but it's an awesome channel where she watches news clips with her young kids and then asks them questions
Yes.
about it.
Wow.
Like, it might have shown up in your FYP, but she
During
says
Charlie
like,
Kirk, I saw her.
yeah, she does a lot of like why do you think somebody would say that on TV? And the kid would be like, because they want these people to feel bad. Like, but do you think that those people are actually doing something wrong? Well, no, they're not doing something wrong. Well, then why would they say that? Well, they're probably saying that because they're trying to get other people to think this about it. And like, little
Smart.
kids are smart. And
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of like
Yeah.
media literacy, like I think that TikTok / Instagram creator has informed my parenting possibly than any of the dad bro books that you get purchased for you when you have kids. They're like, you can watch football and be a dad, which is all the dad books. Like,
Yeah.
I would like that
That's
woman's
true.
TikTok made me go, oh, that's how I want to parent, where it's like, I want to constantly be questioning, like, why are you being fed this? Why are the images like this? Hey, see that billboard for a clothing brand, but the person's almost completely naked? That exists. That exists in the real world. Why do you think they're doing that, right? And just so that the world can be contextualized in a smarter way.
Yeah, right.
But also, kids are going to be kids, and I don't even know what's
I love
working
that.
and what's not working. So we'll see.
Exactly.
Trying stuff. Yeah.
Totally.
There are a whole lot of really good social media influencers, if you will, so one of them, there's a few of them that I know that talk about basically disconnecting from your phone. So they essentially have no social media accounts except for YouTube. So they film a video and post it, and that's it. And I've been following them. They are totally honest in what they're talking about, but they talk about how their mental health has changed. Sorry, my dog. By not being on socials. And I've been following them like loosely for the last like 3-4 years, and it's been fascinating given that none of us on here have that option to be offline. But it's something that I think like a lot of people within the world of TikTok and Reels and things that are so like quick justification or gratification to your brain, give you a quick scent of dopamine. It gives you, that good feeling, and the second that you log off, you're like, oh shit, now I want to keep scrolling, or it keeps you up later at night, things like that. And there's been studies that have shown that it doesn't actually help ADHDers to log off their phone an hour before bedtime. I can say personally from my experience, I feel better when I don't touch my phone for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. And when I do follow that, I feel like I'm more productive. It doesn't mean I'm like fully staying off of screen time. It's just I'm not touching my phone. So it's, I think it's like a he said, she said, even in the world of science almost, the way that they conduct studies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think with parenting, there's like no right way to do it. So it's always interesting.
And
I love, yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too when you're talking about like how it impacts you specifically. There is a certain amount of like every brain is different and everybody's routine is different. So there are trends that you can see, but also like can your 15-year-old kid handle social media or not? That's going to be a little nature. It's going to be a little nurture. It's going to be a little platform. It's going to be like, and I never want to be the kind of person that's like, we should never regulate anything because you should always do what's best for your kid. Because like, I think there does need to be regulation. I think we've done a woefully terrible job in America talking about the dangers of social media and having guardrails around that, and especially when it comes to things like media literacy and depression and bullying and having rails around that. But also, I think that like you need to if one of my kids hits 13 and they're a little performer and they want to make TikTok videos, and I think that it's like healthy and it's like an extracurricular outlet, that's different than if I have like a kid who seems to be angry at the world, who is on there wanting to rage and say swear words or racial epithets or like then no, then you don't get it at all. Then you do not get to touch social media. So that's tricky. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Well, we also do we have any other news that we want to talk about or news from the stealth talent world right now?
I feel like everyone has been heads down and just like focused into the new year. I think a big thing on our end is like getting organized and just staying focused. So I feel like it's been quiet, but in a very positive way. So it's been exciting.
I love
Yeah, my
it. And
outbound
Brian,
in the last few weeks or last month has been insane. I mean, we were just looking at some of those numbers, but it's been coming through, and so it's you kind of go back to college and you're thinking about all those books that you read from Covey and all those guys, and just like I got one in front of me here, 7 Habits here, things like that you just kind of keep in mind. You're like, just stick with the process. I almost swore. Stick with the process. Keep it going, and it's going to work. And it does. It really does. It's just, it could be a bit of a grind, but heading into the holidays, I'm excited to celebrate a little bit and do some Christmassy stuff and all that.
well, we went to a holiday party last night. We were both at the Monkey Paw holiday party. Jordan Peele gave a little speech, and our friend Denise, our former Full Screen coworker, is now working closely with them. And what an incredible setup! And they even said it quite explicitly. We want to start working with creators more, which for a big Hollywood movie production studio with huge hits under their belt, that's pretty promising.
Yeah, and it was also promising to hear that they were okay saying we don't understand creators, or you guys are the experts, kind of putting it on that. It's like, yeah, but we need to look to them for something, they look to us for something. It's a really good benefit, and I think we could come up with a really fun program there. Did you get to look at the art exhibits and things in the hallway there too? I saw you snap a couple photos. One in particular that got me, I don't know, whoever watches Monkey or Jordan Peele's films, the beginning is a small stop motion monkey paw that's stirring the tea, just like from Get Out. That was there. It was like in a small case in like a shadow box, but it was that little maquette that they used. I think it was the actual one. That
It
was
looked
really
like
cool.
it, yeah. I got a picture of that too, and also I'm a huge fan of Get Out. So they had some of the props from that movie there, and I nerded out over that. And it's just a very cool vibe there, and the way that it's designed, it feels like you're walking into a super aesthetic, like almost horror movie in the lobby. Like everything is like black treatments with like bright, almost neon-y purple and blue lights and stuff, and it's kind of like it's almost like the classiest haunted house you've ever walked in your life, which is
and the most technically advanced, ready to go for any project you have, any audio visual thing that you want to create, you can build it out of there. You can finish it out of there. This facility is set up for anybody. But we saw
the dub room is like beautiful.
Yeah. The dub studio was the magic room.
Yeah. If I could watch a full movie there, it's like when they turn on the audio, it feels like their audio surrounding you. And like Tim Heidecker was in there in the room when we were there, which was like kind of fun to get a room demo with somebody who I watch his podcasts like every day. But
it's one of my favorites.
For sure. Well, cool. I think that we did it. I think that we won the internet. If we don't see everybody out there before the holidays, have happy holidays. I know that we, on and off, some of us are going to be taking different levels of breaks, but everybody here, I'm grateful for all of you. This has
Grateful
been
for you.
the most fun and rewarding 3 months of my career so far, and I'm excited for the next 30 years of it to be equally as fun and rewarding. So, but really excited about where the industry is going, and I'm going to be writing my 2026 predictions this week. So my 2025 predictions were very good. They were very spot on, so I've got a lot to live up to.
Awesome.
All right. Well, take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Don't close your windows. Oh.
Oh, no.